1, 2, 3.
This is Sunbeam Park in Frenchtown, or Sunbeam Lenape Park in Frenchtown, which carries forward the theme Kinakihena from Lenape. We are caretakers. And we are the caretakers of our districts, especially and even more so now. Welcome to Frenchtown. As you can see, we're a pretty laid-back community. It's cold out today, as it probably is where you are as well. But we're going to take a little walk around and see if we can't show some examples and inspiration that may prove helpful to your goals. My name is Jef Buehler, and I am the administrator or leader of the Neighborhood Preservation Program at the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, State of New Jersey. I'm also a Downtown New Jersey board member since 2004, a downtown revitalization practitioner for the bulk of that time as well, in a couple of different towns, and a serial volunteer for making the world a better place. Oh yeah, I live in Frenchtown and I love it. It's a great place to be. I hope you can come visit us sometime, maybe when things settle down. So we're here in Frenchtown again today, and I'm going to give you the takeaways right up front. 4 things, just 4. Get together, get ready, get found, and be open. That's it. Those are your 4 post-pandemic takeaways. You can shut it off now if you want, or we'll get into some of the details. But what does post-pandemic really mean? What's it going to look like? Nobody really knows, but we have some clues. Thank goodness we're making progress on overcoming COVID-19. But a couple of things. It's not over, and even when it's over, it's not going to be quite completely over, possibly for the foreseeable future. The impacts of COVID-19 on our districts, our downtowns, our neighborhood commercial corridors has been immediate and severe. But it's also restructuring the way things work. Many larger businesses and corporations are decentralizing their offices, if not outright giving them up. So all of those office workers, folks going to a centralized office, are in many ways not coming back, and in many ways going to be working from home in their own communities, or going to choose communities to live in where they can best work from home and take advantage of those communities, since they are spending effectively their entire day there. This changes everything. And we need to prepare now. So let's start by getting together. Getting it together effectively means, well, getting your act together internally so that you are ready and are strong and are able to move forward. It's about aligning your partnerships, your municipal ones, as well as your internal organization. So now we're here in front of Borough Hall in Frenchtown. And the reason is because as far as getting together goes, your municipality, your city, your borough, your township, whatever it may be, is crucial to getting that done. So you have your organization, right? You need to build your organizational capacity. You need to build your connections and connectivity. You need to build on your policies as an organization. So it's about the policies and not the personalities. It's about the procedure and not the people. So you want to build that infrastructure now during the pandemic. Now, inside your organization, your C4, C6, C3, whatever the nature of your nonprofit district management entity is, if you haven't already done so, take a look at your board and organizational policies based on the 2020 and 2021 reality of life. and what this life requires in this pandemic world and in what we're loosely calling the post-pandemic world. Do you have a social media policy? What does it say? If you don't have one, you better have one. Because people are reaching out principally digitally and online now. And that's going to be for the foreseeable future, if not indefinitely. The same thing for media outreach. The media is going to contact you online. The media is going to contact you by phone. The media is going to engage with board members at various points. People need to know what exactly they are doing, what they are allowed to do, what they are allowed to say, what they can say based on board policy and decision. And of course, as required since 2012 by the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, you better have a conflict of interest policy, which is so crucial for engaging in grants, COVID relief grants, for example, for facades, or for business enhancement, or just business survival, or cash grants to fill in cash flow. All of those things, from state agencies, county, local, federal, even private donations and foundations. Some of your communities have done that as well, where you've raised private funds to support your local businesses. So it's crucial that you have that conflict of interest policy in place, not just for best practices and not just because the IRS requires it, because you want to make sure that your stakeholders in your community, your residents, your business owners, your property owners, those that are assessed if you have an improvement district, that they know they're getting a fair shake and that board members aren't getting preference or deference. It's really important to maintain that trust. Likewise, you want to look at your board and organizational procedures based on the reality of what we have now. If you haven't already built it, you should be building online file sharing mechanisms, whether it's Google Drive or Dropbox or any number of other options that are mostly free, frankly. Online meetings, Zoom, Teams, Facebook Live. There's so many ways to do this. You better be exploring them if you haven't already done that. And then once you try some out, build that into your budget, build that into your way of being. Now, all of this wrapped up together, including the boundaries of your district, your bylaws, your policies, your procedures, all of that needs to be part of your board member handbook, okay? This is the document, this is the get hit by a bus document, so that if, hypothetically, your board disappeared off the face of the earth tomorrow, somebody could pick up this board member handbook, which is going to be digital at this point, so you can save the trees, and is going to be able to, at least at a minimum, get the organization back together and run it, okay? This is crucial. Now consider this, all this stuff is background stuff. This is stuff that we've been putting off. We've been putting it off. And I say we, because I do this too internally. You know, we put off this kind of housekeeping stuff till the last possible minute because it's boring. We don't want to do it. It sucks. But we got to do it. And the pandemic, again, gives us the opportunity to do a reset here and get the ball rolling in the right way moving forward. It's that much more crucial now than it's ever been. So everything important about your organization needs to exist in a parallel universe online. That is your new filing system. That is where the public can access what the public can access. That is where you transfer documents. That is where you post information. That is where everything needs to live. So just like we talk about businesses being online, and the crucial part of that, as I've mentioned, your organization needs to also have that parallel life online. Again, downtown New Jersey, for example, they've done a great job with expanding their website and making their latest conference work online. It took a lot of money, it took a lot of effort, but it was a success. That kind of investment in infrastructure now pays off in the short term, but it also gives you the way forward in the 21st century for how your organization needs to be showing itself to the world and how it needs to be using these digital tools to function. I just want to point out one thing about getting together, the get together theme. I call it the disagree and commit culture. So it works like this. Board and staff can vehemently disagree and passionately share their opinions about something regarding what's going on in the district, the approach, how we want to do things, how we want to make our district better, support our businesses, all of that stuff can absolutely do that and should do that. But then once the decision is made, once the vote's taken, once things are real and decided, then everyone needs to commit to implementing that decision successfully, as much as if it had been their own personal choice. We hope it's most everyone's choices, because the majority would win that vote, but we want everyone to buy into it as if they had chosen that same thing. Because if our stakeholders that are in those leadership positions, again, staff and board, still disagree and they work half-heartedly, it's not a very good option. They could also maybe covertly or even overtly seek to sabotage those decisions. Again, there's a lot of stress during a pandemic, right? People act out in different ways, and it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard to be a human. But sabotaging the plan once agreed upon by the stakeholders, by the leadership, by the staff and board is not an option. Putting it out there on social media, oh yeah, those guys voted for that stuff, but I don't buy into that. It's also not an option. At the end of the day, if you can't disagree and commit as staff or board leadership in our downtown districts, you need to recuse yourself by resigning. Or you just need to go forward, own it, and support it. Those are the only two options. Again, having that heart-to-heart now, in this kind of transitional period with the pandemic, might be a good thing if you've had these issues before. Maybe you'd want to even write it into your board policies about disagreeing and committing, and make your policies reflect that. Just a thought. All right, back to the main thing. When we talk about building your organizational capacity, and the reason, again, I'm here in front of Borough Hall, is that partnership, that public-private partnership, is essential. So in Frenchtown, for example, the borough aligned itself very quickly with the goals of the Business and Professionals Association in terms of promoting and enabling outdoor dining, outdoor heating, outdoor seating, outdoor displays. And then they just kept doing that. So that when the pandemic initially hit, people said, oh, it's going to be over in 3 months. Well, they gave the businesses 3 months to adapt. And then obviously it wasn't going to be over. So they gave them another 6 months. And then they extended again in December, all the way through the spring of 2021, with ease, without great discussion, and with great partnership and support. So having that alignment between the municipality and your entity, your downtown entity, your district management entity, your chamber, whatever the type of organization is that you have, is absolutely crucial. And if you don't have that alignment now, the pandemic is, for better or for worse, perhaps the best opportunity to cut through old biases, prejudices, and the worn grooves of how you've walked down that path before without partnership, to create a new partnership or a better one moving forward. If you can't do it now, it may never happen. So do your best to make it happen. So we're at the stage of get ready. How do we best do that? Well, again, the pandemic's kind of given us time to do things like, I don't know, get the cobwebs out of that weird corner in the kitchen, or finally repaint that damaged piece of the wall that's been there for 25 years prior to when you bought the house or the condo. Likewise for downtown. But how did you find the cobweb, and how did you find that damaged thing in the wall? You assessed your environment, okay? So for downtown, we're going to do the same thing for your districts, downtown, neighborhood, commercial district, etc. I use downtown interchangeably. You're going to assess your district in real time, a little bit like what I'm doing today. You're going to assess its economic value, you're going to assess its place value, you're going to assess its social value, and its civic value. So for example, in Frenchtown, when we look at the economic value, what we look at is, okay, what are our drivers here? Well, It's the arts and culture. It's the mix of restaurants and eclectic retail. And it's sort of the natural surround, the river, etc., that are economic draws and assets. Okay, but all throughout that is a thread that is woven, which is that sort of creativity. So Frenchtown's all about creativity. I like to call it the creative capital of the west coast of New Jersey. It doesn't really sell well, but I'll figure it out eventually. So those are examples of economic value. Now, again, your economic value might be a particular ethnic food or cultural niche, like in Passaic, downtown Passaic, with just a really intense and diverse array of Latino food and retail. That's one example. It doesn't have to be some highfalutin thing, but the fact is, you have to look at what your assets are and build off of them, not what you don't have. Build off what you do have. And then you have to CYA, which of course everybody knows, is communicate your assets, which does the other CYA too at the same time. We'll get to communication in a little bit. Then there's place value. It's the physical value. It's the experience of being in the vertical and horizontal realm, the things you can see and touch, smell to some extent, in that space, in that district, within the stores, but then for our purposes today, in the district as a whole. Yeah, you have historic architecture, but a lot of places have that. Is there anything unique about that historic architecture? Is it particularly colorful? Is it particularly from a certain era? Is it particularly well maintained? Do you have physical icons? Like in Frenchtown, we have the Frenchtown Mule. Now we are known for that. That is a thing. And so there's that physical place value, right? And again, Frenchtown has nature and all these other things. You might have incredible architecture. You might have incredible boulevard in your district. You might have some kind of public art or iconic thing, a transit stop that's historic. There's any number of things that you can have that help define your place value. It could be the colors and themes in your district that maybe reflect a certain culture or certain flavor that's physically represented on the facades and the storefronts, for example. That's all place value. It could be the lighting, anything you can see, touch, that's your place value. And then your social value. This is sort of the fun quotient. Why do people want to be in your district? So you want to assess that. In Frenchtown, pre-pandemic, we had a lot of activities, all kinds of activities, all year long, really fun, some of which were pretty much local and authentic and local, and some were authentic and we're drawing bigger crowds, thousands of people. But for the most part, it has a lot of programming in terms of active programming. Now, that's a big change based on where we're at with the pandemic right now and where it's probably going to be for a while yet. So don't invest too much time into events, let's put it that way, but figure out how you can adapt them. And figure out what your events are and figure out how you can turn them into value-added experiences for people when they come to your district. As for civic value, that's your organization, that's your partners, your municipality. That's the people that make it all go. And yes, there's policies and procedures and all that other stuff too, but ultimately it comes down to people being willing to make it go, and for people in the community and the district and the larger municipality and even the region, depending on if you're a small town like we are here in Frenchtown, but certainly if you're a denser urban area, maybe it's just the neighborhood. It's the people, and it's how much they care about your district, how much they're willing to stand up for it, communicate positively about it, vote for it, vote for policies and people who support your district. That ultimately proves the civic value. It's that sense of pride and willingness to say, yeah, I'm from that town, or I'm from that part of town, and to mean it, and to back it up with the rest, having fun in that district, spending money in that district, and caring for the place of that district. So, to get ready, what do we do now? Okay, what do you do now? It may be 16 degrees out, and it actually is. Do a district walkthrough. think about and write down what works. What are our assets? What are our physical, economic, or rather place and economic, social and civic assets that you can see, you can experience? And then what sucks? So what works, assets, what sucks, challenges. What are our challenges? What are our physical challenges, our place challenges, economic challenges, social challenges, civic challenges? Photograph every building on the street level, because that's the customer experience right there. Look at the things from the COVID users, or rather, look at things from the COVID experience user's standpoint. They're wearing a mask. They're bundled up in this kind of season. They may have gloves on. They may be thinking about hand sanitizer. There's a lot of factors. How far can they see into the store to see if that's a place they want to take that leap? Because it's a leap in a pandemic to go into a building, right? For some of us, for many of us. Take that into consideration. I'm no doctor. I'm no virologist, but the fact is this stuff's going to be part of our world for some time, and we need to think about that as we build and rebuild our districts and our individual businesses. And then also consider the percentage of your GLA, your gross leasable area, that's office space. And what kind of office space? Is it large office space? Is it small business office space? Because a lot of that, if it's large, is probably going to be thinning out for the foreseeable future. Maybe not right away, but possibly right away. And that thinning out is going to really change your district, the district composition, for the worse in some cases, but it's also going to give you opportunity to consider how that office space and that GLA can be reused. So we have to ask ourselves, how are we guiding that change? Right? Are we getting the results that we want out of things? Do we have design guidelines or requirements for buildings and storefronts, for example? Or placemaking guidelines for how we work in the public realm or requirements? How do our incentive programs work? Are we getting the results that we want from those things? If we don't have them, maybe we should think about it. If we do have them and they're not delivering on the outcomes we want in real time, then again, now's the perfect time to make that change happen. Now let's talk about getting found. Look at what's our district online presence? What's the information that we share? How do we share it? And do we have a commerce component to that online presence? Then, and this is where it gets really crazy, you got to look at all the businesses in your district and do the exact same assessment. What's their business online presence? Is it an informational presence, or is it a presence that engages in commerce, directly or indirectly? Just how does it support commerce, right? So that's just the online side. Then the other part about getting found is the district appearance and ease of accessibility. How does the district look? How does it feel when it snows with the sidewalk shoveled? Are there places for people to sit safely? Sit outside, or otherwise temporarily congregate in a safe manner outside, principally at this stage. Are there trash bins? Are there outdoor hand sanitizer stations, for example, in that district, or hand washing stations? I know in NPP, several of our communities used federal coronavirus relief fund money through our program to do just that, to build an outdoor hand sanitizing infrastructure in their districts, and to great success. The same thing for businesses. How does the business appear? Can you see in to the storefront, right? How accessible is it? Does it feel safe? Does it feel inviting? Again, the same thing. Is there outdoor heating, outdoor seating, all the necessary amenities, or the potentially necessary amenities, depending on the type of business that it is? Are they doing retail outside? Is it done in a way that is visibly enticing and inviting? And then you want to look at district programming. How are we programming the district? How do we program the district? How do we program the district in a way that is safe during a pandemic that is in fact still raging and that will be with us for some time? How do we do that? What are the steps we can take to make that happen in a way that keeps people engaged, but does it, again, safely and not making a public health situation worse? So, get found. What do we do now? Work to make your district fully accessible, inviting, and comfortable. Build and enhance to remove barriers and provide ease. Parentheses, a sense of safety and health and well-being. So that's lighting, that's seating, and that's doing it all authentically. So if you've got an African American cultural district, like we do down in Cape May, it's part of our NPP program, and you are looking to do something authentically, well, you're going to invest your resources into, for example, finishing and opening the Harriet Tubman Museum, which was done this summer, or restoring the AME Church and turning it into an African American Cultural and Arts Center in Cape May, which is on the docket moving forward. You're going to leverage your actual assets. You're going to be you. You want to be true to be you. Okay? And those are physical things that help you get found. So there's the online world, and then there's that physical realm world where you can make changes, and you could start doing them now, or you could start planning and looking for funding now. The same thing, you want to make your businesses fully accessible, inviting, and comfortable also. For example, with visible and transparent storefronts. For all that is holy, please, 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 no more tinted glass. It is not necessary. It totally blocks people's access and comfort with your business. Some places are awesome stores. They have awesome windows, but you can't see them. And anyone who's ever worked with me in the last 25 years know that one of my rules is this: you don't obstruct the first floor view into the business. You never do it. You don't do it with signage. You don't do it with tinted glass. You don't do it with fully closed security grates. Whatever you can do to keep that open is your number one advertising and marketing tool for that storefront business. Hands down. Now, to be clear, if you're living in an area with high crime or perception of high crime and people are barricading their storefronts to protect their merchandise, their employees as they perceive it, sometimes you got to have security grates. But there are plenty of options for interior security grates that don't obscure the outside and still allow you to see through the window, as well as exterior security grates that are effectively like giant rectangular chain links. So nobody can break in there. They might break the glass if it's interior, but nobody can break in there and steal stuff because of the way the grates are done, but yet people can still see in at night because it's well lit up and because you hopefully don't have tinted glass. So that said, if you are in a situation where you do have a lot of security grates down and they're solid and they're on the outside and there's just no money or will to change that, at a minimum, paint those puppies. use them as a mural opportunity, sort of a pop-down, instead of a pop-up mural, a pop-down mural, so that when those grates come down every night, and maybe they're over the weekends, whenever they're down, you've got a wall of art in your district. It's a simple thing. It's been pioneered in New York City and other places around the world. Doesn't cost a lot of money. It's paint. It engages your local artists and artisans, possibly even the business owner or property owner, and makes a real place value difference and ultimately economic value difference in your district. Because the cost of a store seeming to be closed because of heavily tinted glass, no lights on, security grates, etc., the cost of that store is immeasurable in terms of marketing, in terms of ultimately growing their clientele and making sales and making money. So the more we can have that storefront open, or at least engaging, if not open, the better. Make sure those storefronts have lights on into the evening. If possible 10 p.m., but definitely 8 p.m. if they're not otherwise open. And that's all week long. And that's whether you're an urban district or rural district. That's whether you're a small town like Frenchtown or a big city like Jersey City. It doesn't matter. When you're doing store design or redesign as you reopen or adapt your opening in this sort of pandemic and eventually post-pandemic world, businesses really need to focus on their point of sale and curbside pickup access. It's got to be a massive priority because people are going to want to get in, get their stuff, get out. The days of kind of random browsing for most people are probably in the rearview mirror at this point. Okay, they might pre-browse on the internet, so back to being online, but for the most part, people are going to call, they're going to come in, they're going to know what they want or know basically what they want, and you're going to be able to get them to that thing fairly efficiently, get them to buy that thing, and then out they go. If it's a curbside pickup scenario, again, how can we make that easy? How can we make that easy for people to do curbside pickup? Now we're getting into ordinances perhaps and parking, temporary drive-up spots, things like that. But these are things that we should think about now so we can get ready to perpetuate them in a way that is long-term and not just for, oh, we got approved for a couple of months, because the situation has changed the way people are, how they shop, how they do business, how they do commerce, and how they engage in districts, period. So let's think about these things now and let's build these things for the future as well. One other thing that can be done is how do we use our space differently? Because maybe not all the businesses are open right now, and maybe some will never be open again, and maybe others are home-based businesses now, but were retail before, but yet still need a storefront. How do we do that? So we're going to take a look at a couple examples here in Frenchtown and talk about how that's done as well. So here's an example of a business that had to shut down its sort of public-facing component with diners and things like that, but they use the window to highlight what they offer as a catering company and as a local distributor of fine foods to other retail establishments in town. So otherwise it'd just be a vacant window. It's lit up at night, engages the eye, and shows some pretty tasty looking stuff too. It's a great way of making lemonade out of lemons. Now, as far as district programming goes, I'll show you some photos of the Mule over the winter holidays. So what Love Frenchtown did, and what I helped out with as a volunteer, is we made that corner of the downtown, that key corner on Bridge and Harrison, into like a pop-up icon. Well, the painted mule is always there, and people know us for that as far as icons go. But we really themed it out for the winter holidays. We had a Hanukkah menorah, we had a Christmas tree, we had a solstice sun, and it was all lit up and festive. People photographed that thing with themselves in front of it like nobody's business. It was a joy. You could tell it was a joy for families, long-time residents and area residents, random visitors. people found it a really cool thing. Now, that's a form of programming. It's a physical thing. It's a place value thing, but it's a form of programming. So normally what we'd have is Santa shows up on this river right over there, under that bridge. That's the Delaware River for those who don't know. Santa shows up basically like on a kayak or canoe or some kind of flotation thing, and then gets off gets back to land, and then goes up to the park just north of this bridge here, and then would have kind of a Santa Kids experience, for the local kids. Obviously during COVID, you're not having that, right? So how did Frenchtown adapt? Well, so we created this display on the corner. Oh, by the way, the super giant Christmas tree and all of that stuff would be down in the same park with Santa. So it became like that was the icon, that was the park, that was the place. That's where crowds would gather and have this experience. Obviously, during a pandemic, you can't do this. So we adapted this. We adapted that theme into the corner. Added a mailbox for Santa letters. So it was an actual place where kids could come and, if they're into that kind of thing, put a letter into Santa, and then had the tree and the menorah and the solstice stuff, and again, it became a really popular place for people to go in dribs and drabs, not in large groups, more safely, to do that, and to have that experience and to have that feel. Then, oddly enough, Love Frenchtown organized with the person who portrays Santa. Let's phrase it this way. Kind of online Zoom calls with kids that wanted to kind of have their Santa time, and they read the Santa letters out and all kinds of other stuff. So they adapted it in the virtual realm as well. But from a practical purpose for downtown, the concentration of the holiday theme on that corner served as a public health safe oriented way to achieve the same kind of feel and vibe in the district, but not have the giant crowds and put people at risk. So to sum up on programming, focus less on packed and more on passively enjoyable things, which are probably going to be physical. Could include things like music, people playing music. We had a bagpiper marching around downtown, and guitarists and other things at various times over the winter weekends, or I should say the December weekends in the early holiday period. Nothing that would really draw a crowd per se, or that people would drive from miles around to see, but if they knew about it and they timed their visit, they would get to experience a piece of that vibrancy. So we talked about being open. Be open. What can we do now? Well, incentivize and market e-commerce, both district-wide and for businesses. Again, there are a lot of great examples out there. One of my favorites is from Canada, which is collingwoodcommons.com. Not Collingswood, that's New Jersey, collingwoodcommons.com. It's a great story behind that I could tell you offline. More locally, relative to New Jersey and certainly our metro area, Cinch, C-I-N-C-H market, cinchmarket.nyc is basically an Amazon for local businesses in NYC that has delivery rolled in, among other things. Definitely worth taking a look at if you're in a more urbanized, more densely populated area as a potential model. And then in Westfield, they work with Beyond Main to set up a e-commerce site for many of their businesses, which is kind of ramping up and having some more success over time. So I'll post that link up for you in Westfield. Bunch of examples of district-wide or area-wide e-commerce marketing and incentivization. Okay, the incentive for the business to be involved with that district-wide program is you get to survive. We would hope that would be incentive enough. one of my favorite things that you can ramp up basically at no cost, or pretty much at no cost, if you don't use any subsidy, is an e-gift card program. There are a lot of purveyors of this, and I obviously can't recommend any in particular, but in Frenchtown, what we did was we worked with a place called Gifty, and we created an e-gift card program in the span of about 7 days. And we now have close to 30 businesses signed up for it, and they all can take this e-gift card either as a printed thing if somebody wants to print it, or they can read it off the phone, or if somebody calls, they can enter the credit card number online, and it's exclusively for use in these about 30 businesses in Greater Frenchtown, so that are all members of the nonprofit management entity Love Frenchtown. So it allows somebody who loves Frenchtown and loves this district, this community, this area, this region, because there's the actual borough, but then there's sort of what people perceive as Frenchtown, to give that gift or receive that gift or even buy that gift for themselves and say, hey, I'm going to get that $50 gift card for Love Frenchtown, and I'm going to spend it in 3 or 4 different places, maybe not even the same day. They can use it online, they can use it in store, they can use it on the phone. It's a really great system, and again, no barrier to entry because it's absolutely free. And I'm sure there are many other programs like that out there as well, but that's certainly one that we've been using in Frenchtown to modest success. I will say that the e-gift card programs that are subsidized, meaning like buy one, get one free, or if you buy a $50 gift card, you get $10 tacked on, and it's sponsored by our local realtor, or in the case of my program, the Neighborhood Preservation Program, like we did down in Woodbury, where the local NPP doubled the amount up to, I think, $50 for e-gift card purchases, which then could be used only in those district businesses again. So it's driving the money right back into the community. But with flexibility, having that subsidy is extremely successful, and it definitely makes a big difference when it comes to running an e-gift card program or any kind of gift card program, is when you can match or double that money. But the fact is that if you don't have that, you can still get it up and running, and it's still a great tool that promotes the economic viability of the community, as well as sort of the civic buy-in to the community in addition to that. Because again, it's branded to your districts, whether it's a sub-district within a city, a larger city, like the Columbian district in our MPP area in Elizabeth, which is a sub-district of Midtown, which is a sub-district of the overall community of Elizabeth. You can have a card that just works in businesses in that sub-district, brand it for that sub-district, and creating a sense of connectivity and, again, civic pride, as well as bringing some economic juice to the table for that district. It's a great tool, subsidized or not. Certainly if you subsidize it, it'll take off a lot faster. That I can assure you. Because at the end of the day, if you're online, you're open. You are being open. And that is half the battle, and certainly the key fourth point of what we've talked about today. So when we talk about be open, what we mean is you have to be accessible to the public, to the people who are going to buy your stuff, access your services or goods. So being open is about your physical presence, your storefront, but it's also about your online presence. Can you be found? Can your district as a whole be found? Are you open in that sense 24/7? How do you stay open? Like we have a couple great restaurants in Frenchtown that they had to close. They just can't make bank with their staff and all their overhead during the January to March or June or March or April period, right? So what do? They keep cooking, they keep making their great stuff, but then they take another business that's more retail, straight up retail, and they use that business to sell their food collectively, and the entire community and region knows about this. So it's an awesome thing. It's an awesome thing. It's a way for them to effectively stay open, keep working, pay the rent, but then have lower overhead costs during this time. So now let's take another look at how businesses adapt and change and use their local assets to succeed, even in these trying times. My local hardware store, Frenchtown Home, Hardware and Outdoors, is a perfect example of that. They've partnered with Maker's Alley over here in the front part of their store, where they have art made by local artisans and artists, and they basically serve as an exhibit space for them in part of the hardware store. Let's go inside and check things out. So Frenchtown Home, Hardware and Outdoors is just fantastic. It has got at least one of everything you'd ever need. It is the classic and quintessential downtown independent hardware store, and Mike the owner is just fantastic, and the store itself is awesome, but it's more than hardware. So over here in the front of the store is an example of the partnership with Maker's Alley. Now today it has mostly art as a gallery that people can purchase and obviously view and enjoy. During the winter holidays, there were probably a half dozen artists and artisans here with jewelry and other gifts. Not so much hanging art, but wearable art that people can wear. This partnership with Maker's Alley, which is a nonprofit, brings clients interested in the arts into the hardware store, which is so much more than a hardware store, benefits the business, and it also provides a venue for Maker's Alley and their artists and artisans and partners to show and sell their stuff. So again, not unlike the specialty store around the corner, Gourmand Epicure, Frenchtown Hardware is hosting key economic and social assets of the community, artists and artisans, within its own walls, taking up its retail space, but providing effectively an anchor sub-business within its main business. It's another fantastic way that businesses can partner, share square footage, and grow together, even during the pandemic. Again, the key takeaways, in order, although they probably should be done parallel to some extent. Get together, get ready, get found, and be open. Taking advantage of the situation we are in with the pandemic, by doing those four things, will give you a strong foundation for moving both your district as a whole and the businesses within that district forward to what is hopefully a more sustainable and prosperous future. Thanks for taking the time to listen today, and I look forward to your questions.
Yeah.